Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to do paper 3, variant 3 for IGCSE Math 0580. This is for core maths and we're doing papers from the May June 2025 series. If you're someone who wants to access the other variants for all of the papers from paper 1 to paper 4, you can check out the link above because I'm constantly updating this playlist. So let's see how this paper was, whether this paper was easy or difficult overall. So it says from this list, write down the number that is a multiple of 12. So multiple of 12, most kids to this day still confuse multiples and factors. Factors are the numbers that you multiply to get a multiple. So for example, if I say 2 times 3 equals to 6, 2 and 3 are factors of 6, and 6 is a multiple of 2 and 3. So this is how you differentiate between a factor and a multiple. So over here, they want a multiple of 12. So that means you want a number that comes in the 12 times table, which is 24. Then a square number, so that's a number that we get by multiplying the same number to itself. So that is 16 because 4 times 4 is 16. Then a cube number, so a cube number is we multiply the same number to itself 3 times. So that is going to be 27 because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So for this one, please remember the difference between a factor and a multiple, otherwise you're going to get this wrong. Then it says shade one square so that the diagram has one line of symmetry. So to have one line of symmetry, we can shade this square because then we'll have this as the line of symmetry. Then put one pair of brackets into this calculation to make it correct. So we have to make sure that the equation gives us 24. So if I do a bracket around 80 divided by 8, that means it's 10 plus 2 times 3. Then we do 2 times 3, which is 6. And then 10 plus 6 is 16. That isn't equal to 24. So that's not right. Then let's say the bracket comes around 8 plus 2. So that's 80 divided by 10 times 3. 80 divided by 10 is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. So that works over here. For these type of questions, you have to follow the rules of BODMAS or BIDMAS, like whatever you call it. Brackets first, then your indices, then divide, multiply, add, and lastly subtract. We go in this order from B to S. Then says Tim drives home from work. The travel graph shows his journey. Write on the time Tim leaves work. So to figure out the time at which Tim leaves work, that's going to be this. Because from this point onwards, your distance towards home is decreasing. So that means he's driving from work and going towards home. So as he's going towards home, the distance from work to home is going to be less. So if you look at the scale between 14 and 1430, we have 3 squares, which means each square represents 10 minutes. So this is going to be 1410, which is the time at which he leaves from work. Then Tim stops on the way home. Find how far Tim travels before he stops. So the stopping point is over here where the distance is constant. So how far does he travel before he stops? He's starting his distance at 36 kilometers and he stops over here at 12 kilometers. So if we subtract the two, that gives us 24. That is the distance he has traveled before he stops. Then find how long Tim stops for. So that's basically this time duration. As we said, each small square represents 10 minutes. So he's stopping for 20 minutes. Then calculate 2.8 to the power of 5 minus 0.3 square divided by root of 5. So you just plug this in the calculator. So first, we'll begin with finding the value of 2.8 to the power of 5. So 2.8 to the power of 5 is 172.10368 minus 0.3 square, which is 0.09. And then divide the result by root 5. So when we subtract the two, what we get is 172.01368 divided by root 5, which gives us 76.93, correct to 2 decimal places. Then it says, in a bag of counters, 6 of the counters are blue. The arrow on the probability scale shows the probability of picking a blue counter at random. Work out the total number of counters in the bag. So if the probability of picking a blue counter at random is over here, so if you look at the scale, this is 0.1, this is 0.2, this is 0.3, and this is 0.4. So the probability of getting a blue counter is 0.2. So if 6 of the counters are blue, that means 6 over something equals to 0.2. So x is going to be 6 divided by 0.2, which gives us 30 as the total number of counters. That is your final answer. Next question says the local time in Japan is 3.5 hours ahead of the local time in India. Find the time in Japan when it is 21:45 in India. So if Japan is 3.5 hours ahead of India, that means we need to add 3 hours and 30 minutes to the given time. So that's 5, 7, 4, and 2. So since our minutes cannot be greater than 60, so that means we take 60 minutes of 75 and add that as an hour to 24. So obviously our hours cannot be more than 24 because at 24 it's 12 and then the next day begins. So it's going to be 1:15. Then it says Mia changes $350 into euros. The exchange rate is $1 equals to 0.92 euros. Calculate the amount Mia receives. So if $1 equals to 0.92 euros, 350 would be 350 times 0.92, which is going to give us 322 euros. That's your answer. Then it says ABC is a straight line, BD spiral to AE. Find the value of x. Give a geometrical reason for your answer. X is going to be equal to 32. Why? Because alternate angles are equal in parallel lines. That's your reason. These two are alternate angles. They're always on the opposite end of the transversal that's passing through the parallel lines. Then find the value of y. So for the value of y, if we know this is 32, y would equal to 53. Why? Because both of them are corresponding angles, and corresponding angles are once again equal in parallel lines. So that's your reason for angle y. Then it says solve 4p plus 11 equals 25. So you have to find the value of p. For that, we move the 11 to the other side first, which makes the equation 4p equals 25 minus 11, which is going to be 4p equals to 14. Then we divide 14 by 4, which simplifies to 7 over 2, which is also the same as 3.5. You can give your answer 7 over 2, 3.5, or even 3 whole number 1 over 2. Either way, it's going to be correct. Then expand and simplify. So the term outside the bracket gets multiplied with both the terms inside the bracket first. So that's going to be 5x minus 10 plus 3x minus 21. Then we collect the like terms. 5x and 3x are like terms. So 5x plus 3x is 8x. And negative 10 minus 21 is negative 31. That's your final answer for this. Factorize 4a squared plus 16a. For this, you need to see what is common between the terms. Between 4a squared and 16a, we know we have 4 common because 4 and 16 both come in the 4 times table. And then we have the variable a common. So when you take 4a common outside, we're left with a plus 4 in the bracket. 4a squared divided by 4a is a. 16a divided by 4a is 4. So this is your fully factorized answer. Then it says Sky opens his restaurant from Tuesday to Saturday each week. He counts the number of customers each day for 2 weeks. The bar chart shows some of the results, number of customers, and the key is the shaded one is week 1 and the unshaded one is week 2. In week 1, there were 200 customers in total. Complete the bar chart. So if there were 200 customers in total in week 1, let's see how many are given. So on Tuesday, we have 20. Wednesday, it's 30. Thursday, it's 50. Friday, it's 60. So when we add these, what we get is 50 plus 50 plus 60, that's 160. So over here, we'll draw a bar for 40 customers. So that's going to be your complete bar chart, and then you can shade it as well. Then it says write down the mode for week 2. So for the mode of week 2, on Tuesday we have 30 customers. On Wednesday we have 40. Thursday we have 40 again. Friday we have 70. And then on Saturday we have 60. So mode is like the number that occurs most frequently. Over here we can see 40 is being repeated twice. That means the mode for week 2 is going to be 40. Then it says find the mean number of customers for the 5 days in week 2. So for the mean number of customers, what we will do is we will add the total number of customers and divide it by the number of weeks. So for week 2, we have 30, 40, 40, 70, and 60. We will add these values and divide it by 5. So mean is going to be 30 plus 40 plus 40 plus 70 plus 60 divided by 5. That is going to give us 48 as the mean value for week 2. Then it says in May, a shop makes a profit of $542. In June, the shop makes a profit of $600. Calculate the percentage increase in the profit from May to June. So for percentage increase, as I've mentioned previously, it's new value minus old value divided by the old value times 100. New value is 600. Old value is 542. Divide by 542 times that by 100. That's going to give us 10.7%. Then the shop gives 2/5 of the profit from May to a charity. Find the amount the shop gives to the charity. So if 2/5 of the profit from May goes to a charity, in May the profit is 542. So 205 times 542 equals $216.8. That is the amount that goes to charity. Then the shop spends 38% of the profit from June on a fridge. Find the amount the shop spends on the fridge. So now in June, the profit was $600. So we just find 38% of 600. Very straightforward and simple. So that's going to be 38 times 6, and that's 228. That is the amount she spends on the fridge. Then it says Meg invests $2,500 at a rate of 4.6% per year simple interest. Calculate the total amount of her investment at the end of 3 years. So simple interest formula is principal amount times the rate of interest divided by 100 times the time period. Principal amount, which is the amount she invested, that's 2,500. times 4.6 over 100 multiplied by 3. This will give us the interest she has earned in the 3 years. So that's going to be $345. So total amount at the end of 3 years is going to be the sum of 2,500 and 345, which equals $2,845. That is the total amount at the end of 3 years. Then says the table gives information about the cost of hiring bikes. So in the table, we have the type of bike, the cost of first day, and then the cost for each extra day. So we have to work out the cost of hiring 2 road bikes for 3 days. So for 2 road bikes, the first day is going to be for 25. So 25 plus 25, this is for the first day. And then 2 extra days, so 2 times 20 plus again 2 times 20. So that's 50 plus 80, and that's 130. That's the cost of hiring 2 road bikes for 3 days. Then says the cost M of hiring a mountain bike for D days can be written as M equals to 35D plus 5. Write a formula for the cost E of hiring an electric bike for D days. Now for an electric bike, the cost for first day is 70. And the cost for each extra day is 50. So if you look at the formula for mountain bike, you can see that the cost for each extra day is multiplied to D. And then for the phi value, like the constant value, they're subtracting the first day and the extra day value. So if you try to use the same concept for hiring the electric bike, E would be 50D plus 70 minus 50, which is 20. That's going to be your equation. You don't have to overthink about this. Just use the given equation and see how they have treated this. The cost for each extra day is getting multiplied with D. And then for 5, they just subtracted cost for first day and the cost for each extra day. So using the same logic, we multiply 50 with D, which is the cost for each extra day for electric bikes. And then we subtract the cost for first day and the extra day to get the y-intercept, which is 20 over here. So that gives you the equation. Then the cost of hiring an electric bike for 6 days is the same as the cost of hiring a mountain bike for D days. Find the value of D. So as the question says, the cost of hiring an electric bike for 6 days is the same as cost of hiring a mountain bike for D days. So that means 35D plus 5 equals to the equation of E, which was 50D plus 20, but now the D value is 6 because we're saying that the cost of hiring the electric bike for 6 days is equal to the cost for hiring the mountain bike for D days. So 50 times 6 plus 20. That's going to be 300 plus 20, which is 320. And then I subtract 5 from it. 315. So 315 divided by 35. And that gives us a value of 9. So the value of D is 9. Then since the scale drawing shows a path from S to P, the scale is 1 centimeter represents 2.5 kilometers. Work out the actual distance between S and P. So for the actual distance, what you will do is you will take your ruler, measure the distance from P to S. That will be in centimeters. As the question says that the scale is 1 centimeter equals 2.5 kilometers. So whatever distance value you get from your ruler, that will be in centimeters. So you multiply that by 2.5 to get the actual distance. And remember, the actual distance will always be in kilometers because that's going to be bigger compared to the distance given on the map, because the map is like a small representation of the actual thing. So just multiply your distance, which you get once you've measured this line, to 2.5 to get the answer. Then measure the bearing of S from P. So for the bearing, you will take your protractor and measure this angle over here. You always measure it from the point they're saying that the bearing is from. So since the bearing of S is from P, you measure the angle from P. You start measuring from the north of P in clockwise direction. So that's why it's this angle and not this one. So this is going to be more than 90 because it's an obtuse angle. So you will take the protractor, measure it using that, and then give the answer. You cannot guess the value because they're not asking you to estimate it. They want the exact measurement. It says measure the bearing. So you have to use a protractor for this. No assumptions over here. Then E is 20 kilometers from P on a bearing of 70 degrees. On the scale drawing, mark the position of E. So if it's 20 kilometers, you have to find the distance for the map. So for that, we divide 20 by 2.5. Because now you find the distance for the map, not the actual distance. So 20 divided by 2.5 is 8. So you will draw a line of 8 centimeters from P, and that's going to be on a bearing of 70. So if it's on a bearing of 70, it's going to be less than 90, which means it's going to come somewhere over here. So I'm just assuming it's over here because I can't measure it accurately online. But this angle has to be 70 degrees, which once again you will check using a protractor. And this length is supposed to be 8 centimeters. So this is how you will find your position for E. No assumptions once again. You have to use your ruler and protractor for this. Otherwise, you will not get your marks. Then it says SU describes a single transformation that maps shape A onto shape B as a translation by the vector 7, 1. Explain why SU is incorrect. So A onto B. So if you pick two corresponding points on both the shapes, this point is -2 and 5. This point is 5 and 4. So if the translation vector according to SU is 7, 1, that means she's saying it's moving 7 units to the right. That's the horizontal translation. And 1 unit up, which is the vertical translation. The top value shows us how the translation is being done horizontally. If it's negative, it moves to the left. If it's positive, it moves to the right. Similarly, the bottom value, which is the y value, if it's positive, you're moving the shape up. If it's negative, you're moving the shape down. So if you compare -2 with 5, we did go 7 units to the right. That's correct. So +7 is right. But if we compare the y value, we went from 5 to 4. Instead of going up, it's going down. So that's where SU is incorrect. It should have been 7, -1, not 7, 1. So your answer would be the shape goes down by 1 unit instead of up. Then it says on the grid, draw the image of shape A after rotation of 90 degrees anti-clockwise about 0, 0. So to show the 90 degrees anti-clockwise rotation at the point 0, 0, this is the center of rotation. 90 degrees anti-clockwise is going to be in this direction. That's anti-clockwise. So we check out the vertical and horizontal distance of each point on shape A with respect to the center. So for the first point that I've marked, the vertical distance is 2 and the horizontal is 1, which means for the image, your horizontal will be 2 and vertical will be 1. So let's mark that. Horizontal is going to be 2, vertical is going to be 1. So this point is going to come over here. Now let's use another color for this one. So the purple point is 4 vertically, 1 horizontally. So now it's going to be 4 horizontally and 1 vertically. So that comes over here. Then this point is 2 horizontally, 2 vertically. So 2 horizontally, 2 vertically, that's over here. And lastly, this, that's 2 horizontally and 5 vertically. So now it's going to be 2 vertically and 5 horizontally over here. So if we connect the points, this is the image of shape A after a 90-degree rotation anti-clockwise about the point 0, 0. Then describe fully the single transformation that maps shape A onto shape C. Shape A onto shape C is clearly an enlargement. And for the scale factor, we pick 2 corresponding sides. So we pick this and this. 1 is becoming 2, which means the scale factor is 2. Now for the center of enlargement, we join each corresponding point on both the shapes. So we have this. And then we have the point through which all lines are intersecting is -5 and 7. So that's your center of enlargement. So enlargement by a scale factor of 2 about the center -5 and 7. That's your description. Then it says points C and D lie on the circle. Write down the mathematical name for the line CD. That's called a chord. Then the diagram shows a circle with center O. Points K, L, and M lie on the circumference of the circle. Draw a triangle KLM so that the angle KLM is 90 degrees. So if it's 90 degrees, that means one length of the triangle is the diameter, because angles in a semicircle have a 90-degree angle for the vertex that's on the circumference. So this is going to be your triangle. This angle is going to be 90. This is going to be L. This is going to be K, and this is going to be M. That's your triangle. Complete the table of values for y equals to 20 over x. So to complete the table, we substitute these values of x in the equation to find the corresponding y values. For the first one, we divide 20 by 3, which gives us 6.67. And then 20 divided by 4, that's 5. Now we will plot these points on the grid below and then connect them to get our graph. So 1 and 20 is going to come over here. Then we have 2 and 10. That's over here. Then we have 3 and 6.67. Okay, so 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is 6, 6.5. So 6.67 is going to be somewhere over here. Let's say that. And then we have 4 and 5. That's this point. And then we have 5 and 4. So that's going to be this. So now we will connect the points. That's our graph. Then it says use a graph to solve the equation 20 over x equals to 8. So for 20 over x equals to 8, that means we have to draw a line at y equals to 8 and see where the line is intersecting with the graph. So this is y equals to 8. And the graph and line are intersecting at this point, which is 2.1234. I'm getting 2.4 for this. Obviously, in the marking scheme, they'll give you a range of values because for everyone, the graph is going to be slightly different. But for me, the intersection is at 2.4. Then it says the spinner is numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Vinish spins the spinner many times. He works out the relative frequency that the spinner lands on each number. Complete the table. So to find the relative frequency for the spinner landing on number 3, what we will do is we will subtract all of these frequencies from 1. So 1 minus 0.15 minus 0.22 minus 0.26 minus 0.25, which will give us 0.12. The reason why we're subtracting from 1 is that for all of the numbers being on the spinner, the probability is 1. So to find the relative frequency for a specific number, what we can do is we can subtract all the given ones from 1, and that gives you the relative frequency for the one that they're asking you to find. Then Ranesh spins the spinner another 1500 times. Calculate the expected number of times the spinner lands on 2. So for the spinner to land on 2, what you will do is you will multiply 0.22 with 1500. So 0.22 with 1500 is going to give you 330. So that's the expected number of times the spinner will land on 2. Then these are the distances above the surface of the Earth of 5 satellites A, B, C, D, and E. Each distance is in kilometers. A is 35,800, B is 7.8 times 10 square, C is 1.5 times 10 to the power of 6, and D is 535. E is 2 times 10 to the power of 4. Write these distances in order starting with the shortest. So let's rewrite these as ordinary numbers. 7.8 times 10 square is 780. 1.5 times 10 to the power of 6 is going to be 1, 5, and then 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then 2 times 10 to the power 4 is 20,000. So the smallest is 535, which is D. Next we have 780, so 7.8 times 10 squared. After that we have 20,000, so 2 times 10 to the power 4. Then obviously 35,800. And lastly 1.5 times 10 to the power of 6. So to compare each value and arranging it in ascending or descending order depending on what the question is asking you to do, convert them in the same format. Ordinary number form is like ideal because then you can easily see which number is the biggest and which one is the smallest. And then you can just write your answer based on that. Then the radius of Earth is 6,370 kilometers. Satellite A is k times further from the center of Earth than satellite D. Show that k equals to 6.11 corrected 2 decimal places. So if you look at the initial question, it said that these are the distance above the surface of the Earth for 5 satellites. So this is the distance from the satellite towards the circumference of the Earth. They're saying radius of Earth is 6,370. Satellite A is k times further from the center of the Earth. Center of the Earth means we need to include the value of the radius to the distance of the satellite from the Earth to compare the distance for this given statement. So for A, it's 35,800 plus 6,370 is k times. Then for D, it's 535 plus again the radius. Now we can compare this. So 35,800 plus 6,370, that's 42,170 equals to K times, that's 6,905. So now when we divide the two, that gives us the value of K. So that's going to be 6.11, correct to two decimal places, as given the question as well. So for this question, you have to read each statement very carefully. They even highlighted the word center so that you would realize that over there, the distances are given from the satellite towards the circumference of the Earth, like above the Earth. It doesn't include the distance from the satellite towards the center. So the main reason why they gave us a radius is because we need to add that value to the other distance to get the complete distance from the satellite towards the center of the Earth for each satellite. Then a satellite travels at a speed of 7,000 kilometers per hour. Find the distance the satellite travels in 95 minutes. So speed is 27,000 kilometers per hour. Distance is what we're trying to find. And since they're saying 95 minutes, so we have to rewrite this in hours. So for that, we divide 95 by 60, which is going to be 1.583 recurring. So this is time in hours. So 1.583 recurring. So now we multiply this by 27,000 to get the value of the distance. And that gives us 42,749.9 recurring, which we can round to 42,750 kilometers. That's your answer. The different satellite travels at a speed of 25,200 kilometers per hour. Convert the speed into meter per second. So we know that 1 kilometer is 1,000 meters and 1 hour is 3,600 seconds. So to convert the 25,200 kilometers per hour into meter per second, we will multiply the speed by 1,000 and divide it by 3,600. The reason why we multiplied by 1,000 because when you're converting from kilometers to meter, we times by 1,000. When we convert hours into seconds, we also multiply by 3,600. But over here, it's per hour. So that means the hours come in the denominator. So we're multiplying 1 with 3,600. That means we're dividing the entire thing by 3,600 basically. So that is going to give us 7,000 meter per second for the speed. Then the diagram shows a solid cylinder with a height 10 centimeters. The volume of the cylinder is 478 centimeter cube. Find the radius of the cylinder. So volume is pi r square h. This is the formula for the volume of the cylinder. So 478 equals to pi times r square times 10. 478 divided by 10 times pi equals to r square. That gives us 15.215. Then we're going to square root both sides. So r is going to be 3.90 centimeters. That's your answer. Then the cylinder is made from gold. The density of the gold is 19.3 grams per centimeter cube. Calculate the mass of the cylinder. So they've given us the formula. We already have the volume, which is 478. We just plug this in the formula. 19.3 equals to mass over 478. So we just multiply the two. And that's going to give us the mass of the cylinder. which is going to be 9,225.4 grams. Simple as that. When the diagram shows a right angle triangle, calculate the value of each. We have one length, we have the other length. They want us to find the hypotenuse. So in a right angle triangle, when you have two lengths and they want us to find the third length, we use Pythagoras. Hypotenuse square equals to the sum of the square of the other two lengths. So height square equals to 35 square plus 22 square. That's going to be 1,709. Then we will square root both sides to find the value of h. That's 41.34 centimeters. That's your answer. Then the diagram shows a right angle triangle. Calculate the value of y. So now we have a length, an angle, and they want us to find another length. So as you know, the length on which the angle lies, that's the adjacent. The length opposite to the angle, that's opposite. We have the adjacent, we have the angle, we have to find the opposite. So using SOHCAHTOA, we can see that we will use tan because tan uses opposite and adjacent. So tan of 52 equals to y over 18.4. Cross multiply. So 18.4 times tan 52 equals to y. And that gives us the value of 23.55 centimeters. We can give it correct to one decimal place, which would be 23.6 centimeters. That is your value of y. And with that, we're done with the questions for paper 3 for the third period. If you have any questions or confusions, please leave a comment below and I'll help you out. And if you understood everything, please like and subscribe, share this video with your friends.